Good evening, everybody. Welcome back, Spartan Nation Radio. So happy to bring in our next guest, who, by the way, I have to put him under oath. I completely forgot to tell him this before we started our interview tonight. He is the Grand Poobah of SMD Law, the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. You can find him on the web at smdalaw.com. SMDA Law, the A stands for Associates, smdalaw.com, or 866-529-3537. Remember, when your next decision matters, you call them first and then you act. SMD Law, 866-529-3537, or smdalaw.com. We bring in the one, the only, the great Jeff Michalowski. Jeff, how are you, buddy?
Good. How are you, Hondo?
Good. Before we get to legal stuff, and before we get to, I want to ask you about the Super Bowl real quick. I have to put you under oath. When you're not on every week, people get mad at me, and I explain to them, Jeff's an attorney, he's busy, sometimes he's in court. And I had 2 or 3 people ask, how come Jeff wasn't on this week? You didn't get to my question. So would you tell the people under oath, was last week you not being on the show my fault or your fault?
I swear and affirm it is completely my fault.
Okay. And I understand. And I'm not mad. I tell everybody that, and then they don't believe me. So here we go. Jeff, by the way, Super Bowl, what are you thinking?
Oh, I'm loving this Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a fun one, Hondo. I'm definitely thinking it's going to be an offensive battle. Not a lot of defense will be played. And I'm thinking the Chiefs are going to pull it out.
Yeah, I think so too. I love Patrick Mahomes. By the way, here's a little stat for you. You ready?
All right, fire away.
Who has drafted more NFL Super Bowl quarterbacks? The Lions or the Tigers?
The Tigers. Pat Mahomes was drafted out of high school by the Tigers, was he not?
Yes, he was. I thought I would get you there, Jeff.
No. I remember I read that over the weekend. I said, yeah, it makes sense because his dad was a great stopgap reliever. I think he was a starter for a bit too, wasn't he, Hondo?
Yes. All right. I thought, see, Jeff, I worked hard. I thought I was going to get you. Thanks a lot for ruining and busting my bubble.
Yep, that's what I'm here for. I'm a fountain of useless information.
All right. First one, Jeff, comes to us from Keith and Tracy. Keith and Tracy say, Hondo, we bought our son a puppy, and 3 days after we got it, the puppy died. We understood. We took it in. It had some type of a flu bug. We're not mad. We don't think the people did us wrong. However, we asked them if we could get a discount if we bought another puppy, and they said, no, we bought it as is. I'm just curious. It was a rather expensive dog. Do we have any recourse if it dies that quick? That's from Keith and Tracy. And by the way, I got to say this because I have some very good friends from Cadillac, a couple, Keith and Tracy. They're divorced now, but for a lot of people who listen who know me, that is not the Keith and Tracy you're thinking about. Go ahead.
All right. Well, Keith and Tracy, the puppy, it's a commercial transaction and would generally be governed under what we call the UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. There would be some recourse if you went to court. Problem is, are you really going to go to court over the issue? Maybe, maybe not. But I think a lot of times if you try and work it out, you can. Maybe if an attorney wrote a letter, there might be a way to work something out. But would you really want to buy another puppy from the same breeder if there is a genetic defect on behalf of that I guess family tree? So I would do our due diligence, take a look online, look at ratings, look at everything else before we get into a transaction. You can be buying the puppy as is. It just kind of depends what the sales contract was. And if there wasn't one, well, then maybe there might be something you could do in a local district court.
We're talking to the great Jeff Michalowski from SMD Law, the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Jeff, this next one I found, to be honest with you, quite a little bit fascinating. It kind of intrigued me. It's from a kid. It is from Peter, and Peter lives in Climax, Michigan. Peter says, Dear Mr. Carpenter, I'm working on a paper for my class. If you could please ask Mr. Michalowski from SMD Law this question, I would appreciate it. We're each been assigned a job of knowing when to get an expert. one of the kids in my class had to do about working on your roof, another one with electrical issues, another one looking for a job and using a headhunter. Mine was, when is a good time to get an attorney? I'm just curious, if you have a matter, is there a dollar amount that you have to basically be in need of in order to make it worth suing? That's some Peter and in Climax. I get what he's saying. I know he didn't word it perfectly, but I think what he's trying to say is, hey, if you've got a dispute with somebody, what's the dollar amount of the dispute before you go spend money on an attorney? I thought that was interesting, and congratulations to the people in Bad Axe for doing this practical school assignment.
Yeah, I think that is a great assignment. A little bit about consumer, issues out there and commercialism. That's great. But what I generally tell people is, look, if there is a legal issue that isn't getting resolved, yeah, come on in and talk to an attorney. A lot of attorneys will do a free consult, maybe give you a couple good ideas and send you on your way. But it's always a cost-benefit analysis. Most attorneys are going to charge anywhere from $150 up to, I have a friend of mine that's a worldwide corporate attorney that probably bills out at about $550 an hour. So there are all kinds of billing rates. Generally, you want to weigh the cost of pursuing the action against the potential award you might receive in getting it resolved. Is that award always monetary or money-based? No. Sometimes it is also trying to get something enforced, trying to right a wrong, or trying to get somebody, as Hondo always says, stop being an idiot, unquote. So, yeah, you got to always weigh the value of what you're trying to get out of it based upon the cost of the attorney.
The next one comes to us from Melissa. Melissa has asked us not to use where she's from. Melissa is 14 years old. Dear Mr. Carpenter, I have worked my whole life to compete in my sport. I've worked very, very hard. I believe that women should be given every opportunity to do what they can do, but so should men. It's not like we should punish one to benefit the other. I'm not asking for that. However, recently, after training very hard and I want to get a college scholarship, I lost a very significant competitive event to a boy that said he feels like a girl. I'm not trying to make transgender people feel bad, but I think it's ridiculous because people may say that men and women are the same, but we're not. My mom is much smaller than my dad, and she's even 2 years older than him, and physically not built as good as him. Do we have lawsuits with this stupidity? It seems to be ridiculous that a person born a man can just wake up and say, well, today I want to go compete with girls and beat us. If that's the case, why do we even have girls' sports anymore?
Yeah, I think that based upon where society's going, we're eventually going to have a lawsuit that kind of irons a lot of this out. Because I agree, Hondo, there just isn't an even playing field. I mean, pun not intentional there. If genetically you start off male and you're competing in female events, I think that there is a genetic component to that. I think we could do it without discriminating against somebody's own beliefs. But I think something's going to have to come out with athletics and sports, because I agree, this is one of those where it just isn't fair.
Holy crap! Jeff Michalowski agreed with someone. Hold the fort! Oh, are you there, Jeff?
I'm there. I'm just as shocked that I said that as you are.
I'm always expecting a no!
I think it's something. It's a real hot button issue, and I think that there's going to be something that comes out on this soon, because it just is going to give us the opportunity. Now, if there isn't a female sport that is the male sport, for example, if there isn't women's football out there, can women play men's football in high school and college? Sure. But generally, you don't want to see it the other way around, because it just isn't a level playing field.
All right, the next one comes to us from a father-son team that I thought was really cool. Dear Mr. Carpenter, my dad told me that I should email and ask Mr. Michalowski. I love the way they spell your name. Mr. Michalowski about this. My father said that I should watch the impeachment hearings because regardless of our politics, this is national history and we need to understand what's going on in our country. My father says the people that are trying to prosecute Mr. Trump are a bad word that I can't use, but it's when a donkey and a horse have a baby. What I don't understand is this. My dad read me the Constitution and it said you must be found guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors. When I watched the impeachment hearing, everyone said they heard or they thought, but there was no proof. So how can you be impeached if there isn't high crimes and misdemeanors and the Constitution says that's the only reason to impeach? I don't understand it. It's like being told you're going to be sent to bed early if you eat an apple and you never eat an apple, but they send you to bed early for eating the apple. I don't know much about it. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm only in 7th grade, but I am curious. That's from Tim, and Tim's the boy, and George is the dad. And Tim and George live in Howell, Michigan.
Well, that's a great question. I think Hondo, it's from the mouths of children, right? We get some interesting insights. Procedurally, I agree. I think that there's a lot to learn about constitutional procedure with this hearing. I also think that a lot could be learned by the way the government works. To see it go through each stage according to the Constitution is interesting. How can they move forward? I don't know. Ultimately, that goes back to the Constitution and 3 branches of government. Within the legislative branch, once the House passes a resolution or puts a bill up to the Senate, it's up to the Senate then to decide what to do with it. And then after the Senate decides, it generally either becomes law, becomes official, or keeps going on. But I guess we have to have faith in the Constitution. Document seems to be pretty good. Wouldn't you agree, Hondo? It's gotten us over 200 years already, so must be something good about it. And other countries across the world have tried to mimic our Constitution. So I still say it isn't the best country, it isn't the best government out there, but it's the best one we got. And it's the best country in the world. People mimic us. People try to do the same thing. And sincerely, we have to have some faith in the Constitution to make sure that the government performs adequately.
Okay, the last one comes to us from Brianna or Brianna. I don't know how she pronounced it. And her last name starts with a G. As you know, Jeff, we don't like to use last names on kids. But Brianna says on her email, Dear Mr. Carpenter, we have been watching the impeachment hearings in our civics class because it's important. Our teacher told us that we are not to look at this as Republicans or Democrats, but we were going to watch all of the evidence, and then we as a class were going to vote on guilty or not guilty. It was really cool because they told us that when you go into a jury room or you're in the jury because you're a senator, you're not allowed to be a Republican or a Democrat. You're an American looking for right and wrong only. So I have a question. They told all of the senators that they had to listen, pay attention, and were not allowed to leave. During the broadcast of the Senate, you see them playing on their phone, reading their computers, and many of them getting up and leaving. What I don't understand is, when you're in a jury, are you allowed to do that? It's Republicans and Democrats doing it, women and men, or are they just allowed to be disrespectful to what the Constitution orders because they're in government? That's from Brianna.
Well, they're supposed to follow the rules of parliamentary procedure. A lot of what we're getting out of this is if there isn't a rule against it, then you can do it. So who knows what's really going on with what the actual rules are supposed to be or aren't supposed to be. I guess, once again, you just got to have faith that they are following the right rules.
Brianna, God bless you for using your head. And I agree with you. Republican or Democrat, follow the rules. Remember, SMD Law is the official law firm of the Spartan Nation, 866-529-3537. SMDA Law on the internet. When your next decision matters, you call them first and then you act. First and then you act. First